Welcome to Part 3, the conclusion to my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles original series retrospective. I talked about the main characters and all the recurring themes in the entire series. Now it's time to go through all the seasons in order and mention any highlights that didn't get mentioned before. We already took care of Season 1, so let's move on. In Season 2, the Technodrome is in Dimension X. Krang always has to send Shredder to Earth to do his biddings. Shredder begs Krang to send him his army to help, but Krang says he doesn't get jack shit until he proves himself. So most of the show depends on Shredder trying to make Krang happy and trying to fulfill his revenge against the Turtles and Splinter. Unlike Season 1, it doesn't follow as much continuity. Most episodes are their own self-contained stories. However, there is a four-parter, the first being The Incredible Shrinking Turtles, which is a tribute to the movie The Incredible Shrinking Man. An alien crashes to Earth and tells the Turtles they must find the pieces of a ship before Shredder gets it, because it'll give him unstoppable power. He calls these fragments the Eye of Sarnath. Gee, that sounds familiar. Shredder gets his hands on one of the pieces and discovers that its power can shrink people, so the Turtles have to survive in miniature form. Over the next few episodes, they locate all the pieces, and then the show goes back to self-contained episodes. This season also introduced the Punk Frogs in Invasion of the Punk Frogs. This is interesting because you see Shredder out of his costume.
My name is Shredder.
The final episode of Season 2, Return of the Technodrome, is an exciting finale. The Turtles break into the Technodrome, which is now back on Earth. Splinter and Shredder have another confrontation, which makes explicit reference to Star Wars. They can both sense each other like Obi-Wan and Darth Vader.
I sense that my ancient enemy, Hamato Yoshi, is nearby.
The last scene with them on the bridge looks just like the interior of the Death Star. In the end, the Technodrome is sent into the Earth's core. Season 3 was the longest season of the entire series. 47 episodes. I don't even understand how they were able to finish that many in 1 year. This was the fall of 1989, which seemed like the peak of Ninja Turtles. At least this is when I was the most obsessed with the show. It introduced more classic characters like the Rat King, Leatherhead, Metalhead, and Casey Jones.
You'll do time for this, Lawbreaker.
Then there's other characters that I don't care for as much, like Usagi Yojimbo and Mr. Og, an alien that laughs like Pee-wee Herman. Season 3 was a mixed bag. It had some good episodes and some bad ones. One of the funniest was Cowabunga Shredhead, where Shredder is accidentally zapped by a computer program and starts thinking he's Michelangelo.
I brought back some takeout, so let's get down and pig out.
It's Shredder!
Where?
There was a similar plot in the old Switcheroo, where Shredder and Splinter's personalities were switched.
Are you alright, Master Splinter?
Of course, you fools!
One of the worst episodes was The Case of the Hot Kimono, where April and her aunt have to find a robe that was stolen from Splinter. The best episodes were the three-part finale, the big ripoff, the big break-in, and the big blowout. The Technodrome is at full power and going on a rampage. It's probably the closest it's came to conquering the world. It grows legs and attacks Mount Rushmore, Splinter's hanging on top, the World Trade Center is used as an antenna to open Dimension X, almost sucking in the entire Earth. This is some crazy stuff.
Holy guacamole!
Us kids at the time were lucky to get such a mind-blowing cartoon. Shredder and Splinter fight it out again in an area that looks just like Luke and Darth Vader's fight in Empire Strikes Back. In the end, the Technodrome is sent back into Dimension X, where it's accidentally shot upon by rock soldiers. This is a great trio of episodes, action-packed and relatively serious, without much comedy padding. A great way to finish out the Turtles' biggest season. It never got as good as this again. Unless you count the live-action movie which followed in the spring of 1990.
Awesome!
The movie ignored the cartoon for the most part and took its source from the original comics. It was darker, more violent, it had some cussing, and it was the perfect progression for Ninja Turtles. It was like the big kids version, time to grow up. When Season 4 came out, the show went through significant changes. Before, it was in syndication and played on weekdays after school. Now it was on CBS on Saturday mornings. Also, it started airing in 1-hour blocks with 2 episodes back to back. The intro was changed for the first time. The theme song was the same, but the animation was completely different. At the end, there were PSAs, like one of the turtles would teach a kid not to litter or something like that. I guess they tried to make the show more educational. The first episode produced for the new season was Plan 6 from Outer Space. At the end, the turtles win a trip to Europe. Following is a string of episodes where they go all over Europe to Italy, France, Greece, England, and get little history lessons along the way. Like here, Splinter's giving them a lecture about St. Patrick.
One of the most famous is that of St. Patrick. It is said he drove all the snakes and reptiles out of Ireland.
Bummer.
For whatever reason, these 13 episodes were put on hold and released at a later time, close to Season 7. They were aired on USA's Cartoon Express, and to this day, they don't even have a real season number. So, we just call them the Vacation in Europe Side Season. To make things even more confusing, the first episode of Season 4 wasn't the first to air, nor was the second, nor was the third. It was the 14th friggin' episode, Son of Return of the Fly 2. I distinctly remember watching it when it first came on. It was a fresh new season of Ninja Turtles, but I gradually got bored with it. Just the way kids are, I guess. We go through phases and lose interest in certain things. It's not to say I disliked the 4th season, I just felt it was starting to go downhill. It may have had something to do with how awesome the movie was. It made my expectations for the show much higher.
God, I love being a turtle!
For some reason, Michelangelo stopped using his nunchucks as often, and now it's a grappling hook. I've heard they removed the nunchucks from the Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles versions, but from this point on, universally, the grappling hook was his main weapon. Ask anybody, what is Michelangelo's weapon? Anyone will say nunchucks. But the truth is, he only used the nunchucks as his main weapon the first 3 seasons, and that's it. Was the reason because they thought nunchucks were too violent? What about Raphael's sais or Leonardo's katana blades? Are those any less violent than nunchucks? Irma actually gets into a romantic relationship in Name That Tune. It's some musician named Howie Hardy.
Why can't I be a teenager with a shell?
He might possibly be the worst character in the history of Ninja Turtles. They even brought him back in a second episode. Menace Maestro, please. Great idea. The episode Raphael Meets His Match was a failed attempt at bringing a girl mutant into the show. Instead of a Renaissance painter, they named her after a painting, Mona Lisa. Of course, that's a painting by Leonardo, the real Leonardo. Yeah, pretty dumb. The evil turtle Slash is also introduced. You'd think they make him badass, but instead, he's another comic relief character, as if the show didn't have enough of them. He spends the whole episode looking for a palm tree that he calls his binky.
My binky, where is it?
What a stupid character.
My binky!
Not worthy of the name Slash. This season introduced other characters like Bugman and Ray Fillet. Several episodes don't even feature Shredder, Krang, Bebop, and Rocksteady. The season finale is just an ordinary episode. It's called Unidentified Flying Leonardo. Well, basically a UFO's flying around and Leonardo gets mistaken for an alien. Shredder and company aren't even in it. No big Technodrome battle, no big finish, nothing happens. Overall, Season 4 had its moments, but not as good as before. In the spring of 1991 came the second live-action movie, this time upping the ante by having the Turtles fight against other mutants, 2 new characters named Toka and Razar, instead of Bebop and Rocksteady. Oh, and of course there was Vanilla Ice. You look back and think how stupid it was, but at the time, Vanilla Ice was popular and it didn't seem that weird, especially for a 10-year-old. I loved this movie and it got me excited about the idea of more upcoming Turtle movies. But with that said, there was one thing left that rejuvenated my interest in the cartoon show. On one special night in the late summer of '91 came an hour-long primetime special, Planet of the Turtleoids, not to be confused with the episode Planet of the Turtles, or Invasion of the Turtleoids, which was a fake drive-in movie. This special introduced more characters and consequently more action figures, like Tattoo, Ground Chuck, and Dirtbag.
Now you need names. What do you want to call yourselves?
The animals call me Dirtbag.
The turtles are recruited to a distant planet to help a race of alien turtles defend themselves from a two-headed dragon named Herman the Horrible. This plot draws strong similarities to Godzilla vs. Monster Zero, where aliens from Planet X want the people of Earth to help them fight the three-headed dragon, King Ghidorah. In the end, the turtles find out the dragon is fake, and they go back to Earth to fight the new Technodrome and a robot named Chrome Dome. For an hour's worth of animation, they packed a lot in there. Maybe that's the reason I liked it, because there was so much going on. Maybe it was also because it came out at the right time. The second movie was no longer playing in theaters, and the next season of the cartoon was still on the way. It's not the best or the worst. It has lots of dumb jokes.
That cave must be where Herman lives. I wonder if he owns or rents.
They break the fourth wall all the time.
Listen, if he starts singing, I'd advise you to switch over to another channel.
But when it came out, this was very enjoyable. Unfortunately, it's never been released on DVD, yet the sequel episodes were Return of the Turtleoid and Escape from the Planet of the Turtleoids. Season 5 starts out with The Turtles and the Hare. We already had Usagi Yojimbo. Did we really need another rabbit on the show? More characters were introduced, like Mondo Gecko, Muckman, Mutagen Man, and even Shredder's brother. The Technodrome is located in the North Pole for most of the time. The continuity is a little off. First it's down in a cavern of ice, then it's back out, and then it's back down again. One of the worst episodes, called Donatello's Bad Time, is about hillbillies that steal the turtle van.
Ooh, look at this birdie one.
One of the better ones was Once Upon a Time Machine. Here, the turtles visit their older selves.
Right! We'll show them what turtle powder can do!
For some reason, they felt the need to throw that awful rabbit in there again. It's a decent episode, but unfortunately, this one isn't on DVD either, and was totally ignored on the Season 5 set. With no new Turtle movie the following year, it seems that interest in Ninja Turtles was starting to decline. The number of episodes seemed to reflect this, as we went from 47 episodes a season, gradually dropping to 16 with Season 6, and it would only keep going down from there. With Season 6, it seemed they were trying to focus on fewer episodes to make them better and keep them fresh. They didn't use Shredder and company quite as much. There's a shocking episode called Krankenstein Lives, where Krang's body actually starts talking.
Entering level 4. Zarkonian spaceship sighted.
In the episode Super Irma, there's a pretty cool fight between the Turtles and Krang and Shredder. This kind of thing should have happened more often. Rock Around the Block was a pretty good one. We get to see more of General Trag and an army of rock monsters. Some of the dumber highlights include the Turtles turning into little kids in Adventures in Turtle Sitting and Vernon's nephew in Too Hot to Handle. Even April's aunt comes back in Sleuth on the Loose, which happens to be the last episode of the season. That's what I call a season finale. Yay, April's aunt.
Oh, this is so cool!
Spring of 1993 saw the release of the third live-action movie. The less said, the better. Not enough action, no villains from the show, not even Shredder, and way too many dumb jokes.
Help, I'm a turtle and I can't get up.
This is pretty much what killed Ninja Turtles for me personally. By now, as a kid, I was no longer watching the show. Season 7 has some pretty good animation. We learn a little fun fact in the episode The Legend of Koji. Apparently, the Foot Clan got its name from a dragon footprint in the dirt.
Here in the footprint of the dragon, we form our new clan, the Foot Clan.
The Legend of Koji was one of the best episodes of the season. It has lots of sword fighting and a fire-breathing dragon. Night of the Dark Turtle is an interesting one. Donatello sort of turns into an evil version of Batman. Also, the Triceratons from the comics make an appearance. I've been waiting for that to happen. Night of the Rogues was definitely an interesting one. It brings together Shredder, Rat King, Slash, Leatherhead, Tempesta, Scumbug, Anthrax, and Chrome Dome. This may have been the biggest ensemble of TMNT villains ever in the show, although the voices were terrible.
He's right, I guarantee.
Dirk Savage, Mutant Hunter, introduced Toka and Razar, way after the second movie. Here, they never explain their origin, at least not explicitly. Also, these are not the same animalistic grunting character as before. Now, they actually talk more intelligently.
I know just how you feel, Razor. I'm starving.
Toka, you're the only friend I've got.
Mondo Gecko and the Frogs show up too, so they really utilize their characters this season. In Invasion of the Krangazoids, Krang clones himself, so there's 7 Krangs total. That's what I call a good idea. Krang doesn't use his body as much, and now he's always in a machine called a Bubble Walker. Another thing really weird is that they give Krang a bit of backstory. Apparently, this is supposed to have been his original body.
You 3 runts will make a delicious snack.
When I saw that, my head exploded. Another fun fact, you ever want to know April O'Neil's middle name?
Hey, Danger is my middle name.
I thought your middle name was Harriet.
There you go. I guess it's Harriet. The final episode, Shredder Triumphant, was the first real season finale in years. It involves Dimension X, the Technodrome, all the good stuff. Guess who defeats Krang? Irma!
Alien scum!
Holy shit, that was unexpected. It ends with the Technodrome being sent to Dimension X again, but without Shredder and Krang, so now they're running around loose on Earth, and it's sort of a cliffhanger. Season 8 marks a significant change. The most obvious is the new intro and new theme song.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles!
What's really strange about this intro is that they use clips from the live-action movies. What does that have to do with the show? The animation became darker, and the skies were red, which is why fans call these last 3 seasons the Red Sky seasons. Lots of main characters start getting phased out, the Channel 6 building gets destroyed, and we start seeing less of Byrne, Vernon, and Irma. April O'Neil finally stops wearing that banana raincoat. One thing that kinda sucks about these later seasons is that the Shredder voice is not the same. It used to be James Avery, better known as Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The Rat King is given glowing red eyes and looks way meaner than before. There's a character called Megavolt, which is like Darth Vader with a disfigured face underneath a cyborg mask. A new main villain is introduced named Titanus, leader of an army of mutants. Basically, he replaces Shredder for about 3 episodes, until he gets sent back in time and we never see him again. He wasn't that interesting of a character anyway. Shredder and company return in the episode Cyber Turtles, a good one with giant robots and our favorite maniac, Casey Jones. The season finale, Turtle Trek, is the last big finale with the classic villains. The Turtles go into Dimension X looking for Shredder. They find a prisoner who agrees to help them in exchange for his freedom. But along the way, they get into all kinds of trouble, as the prisoner is actually double-crossing them. There's some okay fighting scenes, and there's a lot of interaction between the Turtles disagreeing over which course of action they should follow. Other than that, it's an average episode. The final confrontation is rushed. Bebop and Rocksteady are quickly pushed aside, Shredder is dropped into a vat of chemicals, and the Technodrome falls into a pit and gets attacked by giant tentacles. It's a shame it couldn't be a little better because it's the last finale with the classic villains. In Season 9, there's no Shredder and company. The new main villain is an alien warlord named Lord Dreg, not to be confused with Captain Dread from the episode Escape from the Planet of the Turtleoids. Lord Dreg uses a lot of the same vocabulary as Shredder.
Every move I make, those wretched mutants get in the way.
But he's played in a more serious manner than Shredder. He's more evil and competent, instead of just being a complete fool. One thing he does is try to convince the citizens of Earth that he's their hero and the Turtles are their enemies.
Citizens, I will always be here to protect you from criminals and those mutant turtles.
Why would anyone believe an evil-looking alien with red eyes and sharp teeth? There's one episode that has a villain named Kronos who's obsessed with time. He looks sort of like the Riddler and even does the Frank Gorshin laugh. I hate this character. It's a good thing he didn't stick around. There's a new main hero, a 5th member to the Ninja Turtles, a young guy named Carter who's trained in martial arts. He fights alongside them, hangs out in their lair. Basically, he joins the Turtles permanently. April's still around, but doesn't spend as much time with the Turtles as before. I'm not sure where the idea Carter came from, but he may have been based on Kino from the second movie. The difference with Carter is that he changes into a mutant for brief periods of time. It's a lot like the Incredible Hulk, but the change seems to happen randomly. I always like how it seems the clothing is part of the mutation, like when he mutates the clothes disappear. And then they come back. This character is okay, but not interesting enough to sustain the whole series. I think making him part of the Turtles wasn't such a good idea. He may be a teenage mutant, but he's not a Ninja Turtle. Another big part of these last two seasons that goes way too far is that Donatello is studying the mutagen that originally mutated them and finds that it's unstable and that they're still mutating.
It's becoming unstable, and the mutations it caused could be unstable too. You mean we could still be mutating?
So every now and then the turtles turn into these overgrown, violent brutes. It seems like this happens in 90% of the episodes, and it gets old really fast. In the Season 9 finale, the turtles get their hands on a crystal that stabilizes their mutations. Thank God that's over. Nope. Right from the beginning of Season 10, Donatello is testing the mutagen thing again, still trying to get their mutations under control. Seriously, they're still fucking mutating.
We've got to find a way to stabilize our mutations.
It goes on and on and on. In this season, Leonardo is mutated the most, and certain episodes, he's mutated the whole time. Shredder and Krang return for 3 episodes: The Power of 3, A Turtle in Time, and Turtles to the Second Power. Lord Dreg transports them from Dimension X and steals the knowledge from Krang. As a result, Krang keeps appearing on Dreg's head. That's really bizarre. Imagine if your brain was a Krang. You'd think that the very last episode to feature Krang and Shredder would be a big deal, but it gets brushed over like it's nothing. All the villains are inside a lab. The turtles rush in and grab Dreg along with his army of bat creatures and throw them all into a flat surface where they get zapped with a beam that transports them into Dimension X. Then the turtles run out of the building, and there's no mention to what happened to Shredder and Krang. They were clearly in the same room, and they were not transported to Dimension X like all the other villains. The show literally cuts away and ignores that Krang and Shredder were ever there. Dreg continued to be the main villain, but there were some episodes that featured somebody different, like the episode Mobster from Dimension X, which had a guy called the Glob Father. In the second to last episode, The Day the Earth Disappeared, Splinter goes aboard Dreg's spaceship and starts kicking some ass again. It's nice to see him getting in on the action one last time. In the final episode of the entire series, Divide and Conquer, the Turtles come up with a plan to fight Lord Dreg with Krang's android body. It's a neat concept, except that it all happens in the last 10 minutes. They get the idea, they go to Dimension X, they immediately find the Technodrome, which is abandoned. They think they find the body, but surprise, surprise, it's just some kind of creature that happens to look like Krang's body. Maybe Krang knew about that thing before, and that's what he based the blueprint off of. So then they find the real body and bring it back to fight Dreg. Donatello explains that the body can expand atoms, so they're using it to grow to giant size, like Krang did in the first season. That was when Donatello destroyed the molecular expander chip. Krang also made his body grow large in the episode Krankenstein Lives. It makes you wonder why he didn't do this more often.
Excellent! It's working perfectly!
So they grow the body and get inside, they fight with it, and everything's good. But wait, now Donatello says the strain on the atoms is too much and that the body is going to implode. Okay, basically anything happens in this show. After a brief fight with Dreg, they defeat him. In the final scene, Splinter no longer considers himself the Turtles' sensei because they've learned enough and are now his equal.
And I am proud to be your equal.
You mean proud to be our sensei, don't you?
Sensei means leader or guide, but you no longer need a guide.
I know they may not have been aware that this would be the last episode ever, but for a series finale, this was really rushed. I wish the stuff with the Krang body would have started happening earlier in the episode, rather than being crammed into the last 10 minutes. In conclusion, the final 3 seasons are a refreshing change of pace. They have 8 episodes each, making them the shortest since the first season. As a result, it looks like they've taken more care and attention to the animation. In the past, we'd always see mistakes.
I'm Leonardo.
The color of the turtles' bandanas would change all the time, or they'd speak in the wrong voice.
Boy, I hate to say it, but this time he really might conquer the world.
I've counted about 100 animation mistakes in the series, but with these later seasons, that doesn't happen as much. In 2003, there was a new series which ran for 7 seasons. The series finale, Turtles Forever, was a 3-part special where the new Turtles meet the old Turtles.
Who the shell are you guys?
It's an amazing crossover made possible by interdimensional traveling and a lot of imagination. It acknowledges every incarnation of the Turtles that exists. They go back to the comic book realm and meet the original black and white Turtles, and even makes small reference to the live-action Turtles. Shredder, Krang, and the Technodrome all make an appearance. Even Irma has a walk-by cameo. The only thing that could have made it better is if they got the original voice actors. From what I've heard, there was some kind of union problem. A shame they couldn't resolve it, whatever it was.
What the shell?
Well, it was one hell of a task to watch every episode of the original series, but I've done it. In the mid-90s, I wasn't even aware the show was still going on. In fact, April O'Neil actually uses the internet.
Wow, the internet is great for researching stories.
That goes to show how long it went. The internet came out. It was probably the longest running cartoon ever until The Simpsons beat it. Even though Ninja Turtles started with the comics, it was the show that launched it into the mainstream pop culture. So through ups and downs, we always appreciate the show. Long live Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.